So, Sergio, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to meet you, and I'd like to start talking about your new record, Gore.
Yes.
I've seen a couple of interviews, and I've seen that Steph was quite not so comfortable about the new material, while Chino was saying that is just the way he behaves. So, I'd like to know how does it feel right now being a member of Deftones with the Gore record that is out since.
Great. We're having a great time. Like, to be honest, what what they both said is true. It's like Stefan started this band a long time ago, and Stefan used to be the only songwriter. And then Chino started to play guitar and started to write songs. And they don't write songs apart, but collaborating together. And then I joined the band, and I was already a songwriter. So now you have like 3 people. And then, with Abe and then like Frank. And then we jam together. And then but we have a lot of people that are developing this material. And it comes together in different ways and different speeds. So sometimes, like it could be hard for somebody, like if you're going through things in your life and other people are not, or this and not, and so sometimes it works out for everybody. Sometimes somebody has a hard time or a hard day, and because of our friendship we all are still there and present. So like what's important is that during the time that Stefan was having like problems, catching up with the material or being into or thinking about it, was because, like he was always very supportive. So even if there was something that he didn't like right away, he was like, I'm not going to like mess with this and let it develop and see where it goes, so that, because like I trust you guys, like we all are playing together. So there was always that, like that's the kind of part that gets missed, is like, so yeah, he felt uncomfortable, but he never stopped anything. He was always supportive. And then when he found his place, like, for certain songs like Hearts and Wires, he made the song so much better, because he allowed it to live, and he waited and he sat there, and then finally he was like, oh, all right, I see what I can bring to this song to make it better.
So, how would you describe the different influences that you have? I mean, I think Stephen is the heaviest side of the band.
It's not true.
True.
I think that we all have the way that we look, and we have the things that we talk about, but the truth is that we all have a very wide palette, and like Abe and Frank as well. So like we all have things that we like, that everybody likes, but then everybody has something that the other people don't like.
Okay.
And so Stefan is interesting because he obviously has long hair, he looks like the most metal, and he always is championing like younger, newer metal bands, and he really likes like bands like, like Periphery, and like those are people that he brought to us. But at the same time, he listens to everything. He listens to rap, he likes Katy Perry, he likes everything, like we all do. We all have things. But it becomes easy to see when you see, oh, Chino likes new wave and Stefan likes metal, but that's not really what's happening.
So you can say that you feel so satisfied about your last record. Is it everything going well? How the crowd is responding to the?
It's really good, because what's really interesting is that currently we're only playing 2 songs. Like we've played as many as 4, which is cool. We usually, like for Koi no Yoken, we play like 4 songs, at a time. Some of them, they come in and out. But we haven't really played very much Gore yet. And what's cool is like it's the band's 8th record, and people want to hear it. And that's a very special place to be in, because usually by a band's 8th record, people don't want to hear it. They really don't. By the band's 5th record, they don't want to hear it. And we're very lucky, that people are interested and they find our new album relevant. So.
And how did the collaboration with Jerry Cantrell went?
Well, that was interesting because it wasn't so much a collaboration in the sense that the song was written and we had it, and then the band, since I have been in the band, hadn't had a guest person. The band always has guest people, and they always sing.
Yeah.
And then one day we were just kind of like hanging out and talking, and we was like, oh, it'd be cool to have like, bring some, we haven't had a guest, whatever, and to do a solo. It became like, and then we thought about that song because for some reason it felt like it had a nice space for it. And even though like between the three of us who play, the three string players, or even, even Abe or Frank, like, any of us could have developed a solo, but it was cool to be like, let's bring in a friend, and when we talked about it, like, Jerry's a friend, and when he came in, it was kind of like the song's done, but like when he came in, he brought something to a whole nother place with the solo, and like it's one of those things where like it sounds like it came in earlier in the process than it really did, because he's just so talented, and he has such like a big presence. And what was fun with working with him was that he was very excited about doing it, and then he also, like, after he did the solo, he came back the next day and he wanted to do it again and make it better, and then he wanted to play like rhythm guitar too. So it was really fun, because I didn't know how he would be. I thought he'd come in and just do it and leave, but he hung around, and we had a cookout, and like it was nice.
Am I right if I say that I think there could be some kind of influences or attitude to your music and the Alice in Chains ones that could be similar? I'm thinking about the atmosphere, the attention to the sounds that you have.
I think so in that way. I think you're right. Both bands are very moody, and both bands are very atmospheric, and but I think that they draw from different things. Like Alice in Chains is more like I don't know how to describe it. I feel like, I could say that Deftones is more like curved and twisted and just kind of like really like, and it's also the collision of many minds and many writers that are like, and working out riffs. And I think, I don't know how Alice in Chains works out their songs, but it's always been described to me as been more singular, it's like, and I think that was interesting for him with us. That he was just like, whoa, like what's going on here? The way it's like everybody's in here, like yeah, and like there's a lot of voices, and it's like, but also a lot of people. We all listen to each other, So I was wondering what he thought about how we worked, because it's I imagine it being a lot different.
And do you see some kind of evolution in this kind of process in Deftones through those years?
The band's always been collaborative, but the thing was that like. It was like Stefan used to be the only he would play guitar and write the songs, and then Chino started playing guitar, so they would collaborate together, and then they have to work out the dynamic, because the band's already existing and the band's already doing well, and then another person comes in with it from a whole different world, and we're friends, and they just liked Quicksand. They were like, yeah, we like Quicksand, that's my other band, and they're like, we trust you, whatever you do, just do whatever you do. And I was just like, oh, all right. And we just sit in a room, and literally like everyone just makes noise, and if somebody it catches their ear, then other people like react and respond. And sometimes like Stefan's really good, like for somebody who because some people they don't want to give that up, and some people he never had to give up that, but he did. And sometimes he'll be like the first guy to go like, hey, listen, this guy's playing something, like he's got like these parts, like stop, listen, and that's a big deal, because like they're very open and very collaborative. I don't think it's been an evolution. It's just more like as more people come, they've just been like trying, creating the space for other people. It means like everybody does a little bit less, so.
I think that Deftones has always been one of the metal bands that was newer sounding, and you always try to add something new to the metal scene, and even you are often compared to those kind of metal bands like, I don't know, Cura or something like that. I think you always had your own way of doing things.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think that like in fairness to like Korn or like Limp Bizkit or any of the new metal bands, I think that there was never really a scene, I come from a hardcore scene that was a true scene, that where there was a sound that people were like, if you don't sound like this, you're not hardcore, and new metal I think was more of a construct of bands that happened to be around at the same time that were all based in metal, but all reaching and drawing from different things, and they're not, they were never really anything alike, and those bands, like certain bands influence, that you like the other bands, you're friends with the other bands, but everyone's on their own thing. And what I think is special about Deftones is that early on, when they recognized themselves getting boxed into something, they took the chance to to go left and to say, hey, we're just
Another thing.
we're a whole nother thing. And I think that what it did was it took, when you don't exist in a box like that, you're no longer, you can't be compared to anything. Time doesn't matter. Nothing matters anymore. So like the band took a big risk and became free from all its trappings, and like we don't have the same issues that other bands do, because they're like, oh, this, like new metal's not cool. Now it's cool. Now we just don't, it don't matter. We just go like this. And we were talking about that last night, like not really, like how like people have peaks and valleys, and people have things where they like you, they hate you, but what you really have to do is look inside and follow your heart, and just stay like down the middle. Just be true to yourself and what you're into, and don't get caught up in too much praise, and don't get caught up in too much hate, or don't get caught up in anything, because if you lose your center, then you lose everything.
And have you got some kind of techniques to remain centered that way?
I think, what it is that I think what's very important is having multiple writers, and we're super fans of music, and we're not, we really don't like to think about ourselves that much. We don't really have a lot of confidence. We know that we're not the best at what we do. We know we're not the best. We're not like, I'll never win a bass battle. These guys are not going to win guitar battles. We're not going to, it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, we developed our style and a voice that, like, you can't, like, you're going to know I'm playing. You're going to know Chino's singing. You're going to know Stefan's playing guitar. Abe plays drums. Like, and we always listen to music. And we're not stuck on ourselves. We're just big fans of music. So you always have new things, and you're always excited. And you always maintain like a spark that I think that I've noticed that bands, when they get too full of themselves, they lose it. And then they lose it, and then they try to catch up. And then when they try to catch up, they become fake sounding, and they try to become whatever's hot. So this is hot now. We got to do that because, and they try to come up with an excuse for why it makes sense. But it's like, everyone can tell, everyone. And I think it's that ultimately the band are fans of music, and not too high on ourselves. So.
And you were talking about the hardcore scene. We've been talking about Alice in Chains and the grunge scene. Do you think that is still possible to have this kind of scene today?
I think, well, the hardcore scene still exists, and I think the grunge scene was more like the new metal scene, where they were just like, they don't sound like each other. It's different. The punk scene is a real thing, and that still exists, and that still thrives. And I think that it does exist. And I think there are scenes that exist, and like.
Do you think it's still possible to break through the mainstream as 90s music did?
I think that I think that the game's changed. I don't think it matters as much. I think that what really is important is that you connect with people, and that if you can connect with people, you can build an audience without mainstream support. And you can become eventually, like the mainstream, like large labels, radio, television, everything used to be the only way to reach people. And then when I was a kid, fanzines, the people started fanzines. People who were involved with punk and hardcore didn't need Spin magazine. They had their own pathway. And then later with technology, there became social networking. So like people who are like in that scene, a lot of people who are into punk and hardcore wound up being like involved in social networking because it makes sense, and they understood how to do that, and they just went with the technology and took the mindset. And I think that now like there's a lot of like young rappers and young bands that have no record deals and that are really popular, and they have no deals. Like Chance the Rapper, he has no record deal. He's like an indie guy, and he's like working with Kanye West, who's on a major label. It doesn't matter as much. So really it becomes more like just working hard and reaching out and just connecting with people. Like you have a chance, everyone has a chance.
And talking about your instrument and well, it just came to my mind because you were talking about Facebook and new technologies. What about your rigs and the new technologies?
Yeah,
Are
we
you
embrace them. Like Stefan and I have been using like the fractal audio units, and then we power everything. You know, like my rig is like a combination of like all orange. So my hardware is like my power amps are orange OB1s. My cabinets are 8x10 orange, and then but then what's driving it, what's creating where my effects and like my tone and stuff is starting with is the fractal audio, and it's all amp modeling, and we've been using that since Diamond Eyes. You know, when we recorded Diamond Eyes, we were using Guitar Rig 4, and when we started touring on Diamond Eyes, we had laptops on stage. You know, and then a friend of mine, Chris Trainer, who plays in the band Bush now, but I know him from like Orange 9mm and you know, from the hardcore scene. I was like, y'all should try, you know, fractal audio. It's like, it's kind of like Guitar Rig, but it's its own unit, and it's way more, you know, more processing power. So we've been using that now for a long time.
And are you doing all the presets and the regulation, or you work with your technician?
No, we do them. I mean, we do them. I mean, we like what the beauty of it's a combination now, because the beauty of it is like I have a fractal at home, and I make my patches alone, and then I work on them, and then I get to a certain point, and then I go into a studio with them, and I hear them through better speakers, and I tweak them more, and then we go to rehearsal, and then I ask like the engineers what they need, like our sound man, like what's missing, what do you want, and then we take it further, and then after that, like our like now the guy who's teching for myself and Chino like really knows fractal very well, so he's like one of like two techs that I've had that I feel comfortable who can actually like to touch my stuff. So like if he hears something, I trust him to be like, I don't have, you know, I'm not worried. So he can be like, yo, I did this to your thing, you know, because it sounded like this or that. And I was like, oh, awesome. And then like when I buy new ones, he, you know, like, he'll like, I'll let it, you know, he'll dump them and tweak them and do that, whatever, because he's as knowledgeable as me, you know.
Have you ever been, I think mostly in the studio, but I may be wrong, in some kind of battle of frequencies? I mean, with Steven, with the 8 guitar, do you have to work on that to reach?
Well, yeah, but what happens is that comes down to your ear and to reacting quickly. So like the way Stefan plays and the way I play and the way that we write is like, if you're an active listener, you don't run into those problems. Like if we're playing and like maybe I come up with something, you know, and then that space is there, and then as a listener you're drawn to what's not there, and you can go, oh, cool. And then, you know, and then sometimes, you know, like sometimes what happens with us is like almost like role reverse. So sometimes people be like, oh, all right, but you know, you hear some melody happening, but Stefan's just like playing like a bass, and then I'm like up on the neck because that's how it just happened, you know. And we talked about like, oh, you know, if we did like comb filters in our EQ, so we could be like a zipper and we would have no competing frequencies, but by the time the song is written, it's already naturally happened because we don't step on each other's toes. And the only time that when we play in unison, it just sounds like this big wall, like. And when Stefan and I have a lot of fun, like as much fun as we have playing like apart, when we lock together, we play so tight together that it doesn't matter anymore. You just hear like a wall, and it's a nice feeling.
So thank you very much, Sergio.
Thank you.
It's been amazing. Thank you.
Appreciate it.